All right. Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome into a little different episode of The Living Force. We're excited to talk all about some cool news, some fun new changes at Youtini, but also some things going on in Star Wars that, I think we can all be a little bit better about. We're excited to talk about growth. We're excited just to have a good, lively conversation before next week's crazy episodes. But in the meantime, Wes, if you'd be so kind, I would really enjoy if you punched it. All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome into The Living Force. I am one of your hosts that is really happy to see you. My name is Eric Eilerson, and joining me tonight is the full house of hosts. We have the doctors. First, we have the guy who recreated an entire website, made a bunch of flowcharts, Dr. Corey Hilton.
What is up? It's been a busy week. I got some mania. Yeah, man, we've been super busy at Youtini this week. We've restructured the whole company. We've had lots of meetings and OKRs. It's all very corporate, and we feel like we're working hard, but maybe we're not accomplishing anything. It's great.
But most importantly, after Corey had a big idea and set a lot of things in motion, the website broke, but now it works again. So to all of you that have been wondering how to use Youtini, we're back. Also,
Doctor,
the
timeline's not ready yet. I'm sorry.
Well, not that. Oh, okay. Wait to see fine. Dr. Charles Hankel, hi, you're here. Sorry that Corey stole that.
I did a little bit less this week, but I'm still here and I'm ready to chat.
That's right.
Dr. Charles Hankel, I'm still here. I love it. Also, who is still here? Wes Jenkins, master of the keys, master of all of our hearts.
Hello, everyone. Very good to see you. My dog is here with me. Actually,
yes.
he's half here with me. He just went to sleep. So.
Excellent.
Well, that's fantastic. I also want to add that even though my lighting is a bit dark, for those of you on the video, my cat Lucy is also here next to me. She's blending in a little bit, but you can see the little whites of her feet. She has a black cat, so we'll see how long we are blessed with her presence.
Up, she's moving.
Yeah. All right, she sat up. See, all you audio listeners, don't you want to see my cat slightly sit? But welcome everyone into the show. We are here on the State of the Fandom 2021 episode. Later on, we are going to talk a little bit about how Star Wars fans are doing, things we can all improve on, ways we can get the maximum joy and respect out of this thing we love so much. We think it's a very important conversation to have, and I'm excited to sit back and listen to some thoughts on that, guys. But before that, speaking of some of that change that Corey mentioned earlier, I wanted to bring up the new titles that we all have around Youtini. Because, Corey, how did this come around?
Well, we've been trying to really clean up and organize and reset goals. And, whenever you have any sort of business or organization, there's different sizes in which you have to scale at. And, we are over 30 members of the team now, 30 super active members, I'll say, that are really regularly contributing to things. And we've reached a point now where it's like a little unclear what everybody does. So we've brought on some new people. We got a lot of help from folks. We've restructured our leadership team, restructured our departments and company team. And I think it's really going to make a lot of really cool stuff come down the pipeline. Everybody has new titles, including the four of us. We all serve on the leadership at Youtini, and I have retained my title of CEO, but I have some other roles, but that's okay.
Yeah, we did realize that as Corey and a couple of other incredible, great members of our team were restructuring, we realized that everyone kind of had to have a specific title because jobs were like, oh, what do I do exactly? And the rest of us got titles. I am now the president of Youtini officially. It's going on the email signature, you better believe. Charles, you are our vice president, and Wes is our chief technical officer. So for the rest of the shows from here on out, please address us by our full Christians, and we will be happy to respond. Another thing I wanted to bring up,
just as a note, I will also respond to sire or master.
Oh, in public now. That's cool.
That's right.
That's fun.
Yes.
So as this is our 96th episode, which, by the way, that's pretty cool.
It is.
The next 3 episodes coming up are going to be our 3-part Light of the Jedi roundtable. Oh my God, I'm so excited. But as those of you who know math may understand, the episode after that will be the Living Force episode 100, which is not what we thought would happen when we began this podcast, but it is pretty amazing to think. So we wanted to just kind of, one, say that so we remember it, and kind of tease some changes. There's going to be some stuff that's going to be altering with the 100th episode that we will sprinkle out throughout the next coming weeks. But we also wanted to open it up to you guys, the audience, of anything you'd like to see in our 100th episode. Yeah. I'm not saying we're going to do it, but I am saying if you want to write our show notes, that's less work for me.
And very much appreciated. Thanks.
Maybe I'll wear my pool hat. That would be good.
Baby's ass. You need to wear it.
Yeah, I think we want to leave a little of a surprise for what we have planned for 100. Oh, yeah. But I think we'd love to get some feedback from the audience, and we're talking about maybe changing some stuff, changing the way we look. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll change the order that our squares are. I mean, that's big, right? That's big.
That would maybe
let's not go that far.
I'm not gonna lie. Wes, we're gonna change the names of all the screens you have to switch through. It's gonna be great.
Reorder them. It'll be great. Yeah.
Well, tune in here 4 weeks from tonight. The Living Force 100th episode. The Living Force's 100th episode. There we go. I got 4 weeks to practice that. And a preemptive thank you to all of you who have stuck around with us through 100 episodes. 96 so far, but we hope that the next 3 don't scare you away. Now, into our Patreon updates. We do have a new patron this week, Christian Bolda. Welcome to the Patreon family. Hope you're enjoying all the content we throw up there, and hope you enjoy some future events, including the Fandom Menace film commentary. That's right, is incoming. We are going to be recording that not this week, but next week. So within probably the next 3 weeks, we'll have it edited, hopefully, and we'll have it up on the Patreon for all of you. That's going to be the 4 of us watching the Fandom Menace, giving our commentary. Again, anyone that joins Patreon will have access to it for your own Fandom Menace viewing nights. Now, usually here, I would say, let's go to our favorite segment. And we still will, but the Patron of the Week is going to look a little different this week. And I'm going to throw it over to Dr. Charles Hankel to handle it for us.
All right, guys. So yeah, normally we have a little video segment here, but if you don't feel comfortable with the video or audio or anything like that, you can always just answer some of these questions by text and you will get my rich tones reading out your words. And so this week, the patron of the week is Amy. And
we're never going to get a video again.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Amy is coming to us from Florida. We asked her how she got into Star Wars, and she said, my introduction to Star Wars was recent and untraditional. In 2017, I ran Disney's Dark Side 10K. Wow, that's approximately 10Ks more than I can run. And she said, without ever having seen any of the movies. The race course was filled with character stops, backdrops from the movies, appearances from the 501st, and even runners racing in Star Wars costumes. I didn't recognize most of the characters I saw. I stopped for photos with Phasma and Kylo Ren and didn't know who either of them was, but I was intrigued by what I saw. After the race weekend, I caught up on all the movies and was hooked. I've since run in multiple Star Wars themed races in costume, seen the movies and TV shows, and read a ton of canon books and comics. She goes on to say that her favorite Star Wars story, or she tells us her favorite Star Wars story. She says, I describe myself as a fan of the universe as opposed to any particular movie or era. Ooh. If I have to pick, I think Thrawn's canon story is my favorite. Thrawn is so interesting that I always find myself rooting for him and belatedly recalling that rooting for him is rooting for the Empire. I can't wait for greater good to come out. And then lastly, we asked her, what made you decide to join Youtini and support us on Patreon? She says, about a year ago, I needed more Star Wars content and decided I would dive into the books and comics. I didn't know where to begin, and so I Googled things like which Star Wars book to read first. I somehow made it onto Youtini's website and submitted my email for more information. One of the first few emails I received was from Corey talking about Youtini's purpose and how he started it because growing up, he didn't have a community to chat all things Star Wars with. That email really struck a chord with me, and I clicked the hyperlink to the Discord channel. I had never even heard of Discord. Thanks to Youtini, I've loved being a part of a positive community across the globe to discuss all things Star Wars. I joined Patreon because I wanted to support Youtini's great work as well as have access to the Patreon exclusive podcasts.
Nice.
Wow.
There you have it.
That's awesome. You know, I get responses from people through our automatic emails every single week, and I mean, yeah, it's an email automation, but like I like to think that I or we really are like sending you specific emails because it's like really specific and personal. I mean, I tell people about like how I got into Star Wars for the first time, and like I really do go into. It's not a scam. Like we really want people to join this community because of how much joy it brings us all. So, and I get responses every single week to those emails, and I love reading them. Like I posted a super long one we got like a couple days ago in Slack because it was really good.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And Amy, I've seen Amy in the Discord. She's always a complete light of positivity and fun and a lot of cool takes. And I gotta say, this is not only a victory for Youtini having Amy around. This is a victory for our SEO. Number one, well done.
I know.
Find us, and number two for our email list. So
literally that paragraph about how she came to Youtini involves like 25 people, like legitimately.
Yeah, that is like reading through that is like I'm flashing back to every Slack conversation Corey and I had like 2 years ago about like, God, what is SEO? What is the metric? Do we pay for this analytic website? Is it really worth it? Blah. And here we go.
Yep, that's right.
That was it. Well, Amy, we're so glad you're here. And again, to all of our patrons, you may be our next patron of the week. So keep an eye out for that. Timothy will get in contact with y'all. We love the videos. We love the crazily edited videos, especially. But if you do send in words, Dr. Charles Hankel promises to lean just a little closer to the mic.
All you got to do is
every time.
Oh, what have we here?
Yeah!
All you got to do is make sure they're really good words, and there we go. It's done deal.
That's it. All right. Well, on the tail of that, we're going to do our another favorite segment, our Star Wars Weekly Roundup. You know it. You love it. And this week, we do have another book from our friends at DK, which is I Love You, I Know, Lessons in Love and Friendship. This is by Amy Richau right here. And this is a nice little book, especially coming around Valentine's Day or Single Awareness Day, if you like to post on Facebook a lot. This is a really fun little book, and I wanted to show you guys a couple pages about it. It's about the love stories in Star Wars. And as we know, Star Wars is just as much about connection and love as it is about action and sabers and stuff, right? We watch these things and read these things for the people and the connections that they make. And this book does a really cool, nice job of highlighting a bunch of different ways. So it has little chapters like this. Let me show you all here. The first chapter is all about true love, right? And as we go through true love, it highlights some of our favorites. Of course, we got the Han and Leia. You get a nice quote, you get a picture, and then Amy does a nice job writing these because they're summarizing the relationships in Star Wars, but at the same time, they're also kind of giving little tidbits of advice for our own lives. Like, how can you act in a romantic relationship based on Star Wars couples? What lessons can we learn? Because we all do. Right? We all subconsciously learn from the media we watch, whether we want to do the things Han and Leia do or we don't, or we want to act more like Kanan towards Hera or not. We all take that with us. And Amy kind of writes them all in really nice ways. Here we have Obi-Wan and Satine. And you really get to realize as you flip through this, again, it's not too long. As you flip through this book, you realize how many different kinds of relationships there's been in Star Wars. And I really love that part of it. And the second one is actually my particular favorite, the second section of this book, because it's all about the different families in Star Wars. Because I think the last few years especially, we've really discovered how much Star Wars is about found family, right? Whether that be all the orphans, that there seem to be about 80 quadrillion of them in Star Wars, finding friends and finding parental figures, or people with parents deciding that, you know, maybe I don't support my parents. If they're Empire sympathizers, I want to run off. I want to join the rebellion. And your family really is what you make it. And I think that in 2021, that seems to be a very prevalent kind of idea. So we go all the way back from, obviously, Vader being, oh, Ross, thanks for that sub, buddy, at Falcon 360. We go back to the original family with Vader being, I am your father. And the quote Amy puts of, you can't pick your family, which I really enjoy.
I like that there's still a heart there, like after Vader totally cut off Luke's hand. That's fine.
And I'm not going to show you guys every single page in this book, obviously, because it also goes into friendships. It goes into my favorite section. Actually, I lied. It's not family. It's the It's Complicated section. And I'm not going to spoil any of that for you, but it's hilarious. But I did want to show one more family section, and it's only for Corey because we talked recently about this. We got the good old boy.
Oh my gosh, whatever
Galen
I do to
Erso.
protect you. That is one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars is that monologue he has. Yeah, this book is really cool. It really highlights that like the creators that work in Star Wars really do come from a wide variety of like experiences and skills, and like seeing how deep they make these characterizations of the characters in Star Wars is really incredible. So I love to see projects like this. Like this is probably like a lower. It's not going to end up like on everybody's shelf, but I think this is one of those things that's unique enough that it's worth diving into. And I'm certain that it added some new things to add to the Wikipedia page too, right? So
absolutely. And for all of you that are looking for some reminders of love, and again, as we're gonna get later on in the show, the reminders of how connected things are, of how much passion is at the core of these stories. It's a great pickup. It's like $10 right now from DK. A great
gift.
Valentine's Day little gift. Yeah, put some chocolate on it. Doesn't matter who you're getting it from, who you love, or if you love yourself, because dang it, you are worth it. You are worth $10 and a piece of chocolate, my friend. So I love you. I know. Lessons in Love and Friendship. Highly recommend it from our friends at DK. Thank you again for that. And in this weekly roundup, I also want to point out that we have a new giveaway. That's right. Dr. Corey Hilton, tell us what the good people at home can win from Youtini.
Giveaway.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, we have a really cool giveaway that we are running soon here. It is called the We Art All the Republic. This one's really cool. Wes, why don't you throw up that artwork we have there? We Art All the Republic. Now, I cannot take any credit for this because this was all our community team did an incredible job with this. We were able to score that collector's edition of Light of the Jedi that you're looking at there. We were able to land that thing. It was we had to like be there ready to hit the button right when they sold it. And just like we did with the Thrawn giveaway, we are doing another giveaway with the Light of the Jedi book. But this book was cheaper, which means that we can throw in some extra stuff. So we are also throwing in our what's it called? The
Light of the Jedi homage shirt.
Yeah. I was trying to think what's the Great Disaster shirt. I think it's what it's called. Yeah. That's the date of the Great Disaster there. So cool little package thrown together. You also get those We Are All the Republic socks, which are pretty cool that
awesome.
Lucasfilm did. And let me tell you about the competition. This is an art competition. So we want to put your artistic ability to the test for a chance to win this collector's edition, plus that T-shirt. So what you need to do is reply with your fan art. Something related to the High Republic Jedi, like your favorite High Republic Jedi. Draw something related to the High Republic, right? And use the hashtag We Art All the Republic on Twitter, and send that to us. We're gonna run this from. We're going to take entries from the 25th of January to the 4th of February. And the top 3 posts that get the most likes, we're going to share them and stuff. Those are going to make it to the final voting round. And we're going to do public voting for a day on the 5th. All right. So then we'll announce the winner, and you will get this cool package. It's going to be really cool. Limited to U.S. only. Unfortunately, we had to spend a small fortune in shipping recently, and we're like, well, I don't think we can afford to do that ever again.
Which we love you. We love our international
Yes, we love our international,
so much.
but
we're so sorry. It's so expensive to ship.
I know. I don't know how you buy anything from America. That's literally the worst. Yeah. So check it out. Now if you are international and you do just happen to completely dominate this competition, maybe we can make an exception. I don't know. Throw it in there. We'll chat for sure.
We'll chat about it.
Don't let that hold you back.
Yeah. So and to be clear, there's going to be like the Thrawn. I believe this is right, which I think is the way I like to approach all things in life. I believe this is correct. We'll be tweeting out on the official Youtini account the contest tweet, and then all the replies to that will be in replying to that tweet. So if you want to just vote, if you're not maybe as artistically gifted like myself, I don't draw a lot, but I love looking at fan art. You can see it all in there. You can hit your likes, leave comments. Commenting about people's art also makes them feel great. So if you see something you really like in this contest, that'll be really fun. So make sure you're following Youtini_US. You got to be following to qualify. Respond with your art projects. And oh my God, I cannot wait. Last reminder, at Youtini_US, not Living Force Pod, although you can follow us there. Speaking of which, this isn't in the outline. Our Twitter account for Living Force just hit 1,000 followers this week. So thank you.
1,000 followers.
I love that.
Amazing.
I will always love that.
Oh, man.
So yes, head over to Twitter account, submit your art. We cannot wait. Speaking of the High Republic, Charles, we got more book reviews.
We always have more book reviews. You guys have been putting these up on the site so much since Light of the Jedi dropped. And so again, we're going to highlight some Light of the Jedi reviews here before we roll into our 3-part roundtable. So I'm going to take the first one from Kyle C., who gave Light of the Jedi 5 stars. And he said, fantastic book, best Star Wars book I have read so far. I think Eric said something similar. What a great way to launch the new era during the High Republic. Charles Soule did an amazing job introducing new characters and plot lines. Easy read for Star Wars fans and for those who have never read a Star Wars book before. Can't wait for more High Republic literature. We are all the Republic. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I love that he said it's great for people who have never read a Star Wars book before. Probably not many of us, not many of you listening here tonight, but great one to recommend for a friend, right? This is a great jumping on point.
I actually recommended Light of the Jedi this week to somebody that read their first Star Wars book. They had gotten on our website and read Lost Stars, and they're like, where do I go next? And I said, well, you got the foundational 5, but also if you want to keep up to the current events, Light of the Jedi is actually a great entry point. Like, I think we should probably consider maybe looking at adding it to our lineup somewhere, because it is very easy to dive into this entire new era for the first time. And you also get that huge added benefit of being able to participate with the community like right now, which is awesome.
God, imagine your first 2 Star Wars books being Lost Stars and Light of the Jedi and being like, they're all like this?
Yeah. I'm gonna come in hot and slam in with Jedi after this.
Oh, God. All right. Well, Corey, you just earned yourself the second review, my friend, from Tyler.
This review is also for Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. This one's from Tyler R., who also gave it 5 stars. He said, new Jedi for a new era. I am amazed that we are 40 plus years in the Star Wars universe and we can still get something this original in regards to how Jedi are portrayed. You can feel the power of the Jedi throughout this book. I was also pleasantly surprised that while there is a large cast of characters, we never go too long without checking in with each of the main plots. This was an amazing story with amazing characters doing something we've never seen before. Can't wait for the next novel to continue the journey these characters have started. Excellent review, 5 stars.
Yeah. All right. And Wes, why don't you clean up for us with David W?
Okay, just as a disclaimer, these were all 5 stars, and these were all Light of the Jedi reviews. So this is David W. Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. Excellent beginning to a new era in Star Wars storytelling. Wow, amazing book. The new characters were great, the new villains were strong and crazy, and the plot moved relentlessly. I am very excited to see where the story goes from here. Highly recommended. I mean, highly recommended is putting it lightly, I guess, because this is a definite book that needs to be picked up. And like Kyle C. had said, the book is very easy to read and it flows so easily to where, I mean, what Spice had said in the chat. I mean, once you pick it up, it's very hard to put down. Very hard to put down. Like if you get over caffeinated one afternoon, then you might put down a good 150 pages without even knowing it.
That's right. And I also want to point out 2 quick things in preview of our roundtable next week. Number 1, I think that we talked a lot about the book. We also haven't talked a ton yet about the audiobook by Mark Thompson, which is maybe one of the best audio productions they've done so far. So if you're having trouble finding the book at this moment, because the second thing is that it remained number 4 on the New York Times bestseller list of all fiction books at all, which is crazy. It's selling out a lot of places physically. So if you want to, make sure you get that Audible credit, get the audiobook, because oh my everything. Oh my stars, oh my Lanta. They have outdone themselves with this audiobook. So plenty of ways to catch up before our roundtable next week. All right. Without any further ado, kidding, there's one more ado. Wes, we got one little merch ad to show people some great things Jose has whipped up. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the state of the fandom in 2021. Oh, if only y'all knew the kind of shenanigans we talk about during those merch ads. Anyway, we are back here today to have just an honest conversation. And I know that that's literally what we do every week. It's a podcast. Welcome to it. But last year, we had a talk about the state of the fandom. And that conversation went into a lot of different directions about the best part of Star Wars right now, some parts of the community that are tougher than others. And we just thought it was about time to have a nice sit-down conversation as we start 2021 to really discuss how we can go forward to have, honestly, the best year possible as a Star Wars community. Because there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of things that could take away from that joy, take away from the Youtini code that we end every single episode with. So, fellas, I just want to start out by asking y'all, how is Star Wars doing right now? Let's start with a blanket statement. How do you feel about the community of Star Wars?
It's a good question. I think it's in an okay place, all things considered. I mean, I think everybody, even fans of the sequel trilogy, like diehard fans of the sequel trilogy, I think we're all kind of glad to have a sequel trilogy behind us in a lot of ways. I mean, I think that that really opens the creative door for the creators to do really cool stuff. And I mean, I'm quite frankly, I'm tired of hearing about all the controversy regarding the sequel trilogy. We all loved it. We had mixed feelings about The Rise of Skywalker. We have all come to love that film, I believe. Did I talk about watching it over Christmas on this show?
You did, but you can summarize it if you like.
Yeah. So, I think of the four of us, I think I may have disliked The Rise of Skywalker the most. And I really had trouble getting back into it after seeing that film, just because of our conversation. We had this 3-hour conversation about it. It was awesome. And there was a lot to love, but like it still left kind of a bad taste in my mouth. And I had a long conversation with my therapist wife, by the way, about The Rise of Skywalker recently. And she told me that I need to consider, this is such a coping mechanism. This is ridiculous. She told me I needed to consider watching it with canon eyes, in that, you forget about the meta, you forget about the acting, which is hard for us to do because we're so in this culture. Forget about everything. Forget about the fact that Rey's a Palpatine and that makes you unhappy. Forget about all those small details and just be like, this is what happens. This is the way the timeline goes. This is canon Star Wars. And I did that, and it took a little bit of effort, like in times when I was watching it, and I had to stop and remind myself, nope, I don't have any problem with this. I'm not thinking about any acting, no directors, no nothing. I'm just thinking about this is canon Star Wars. And that intentional view of accepting it as canon was such a huge relief. Like it was it totally changed my perspective. And we talk a lot about like trying new things and enjoying creative projects from new perspectives, but I've never done it so intentionally with a film before. And it changed my view entirely. I really enjoyed the film. It was fun to watch, and it fits nicely in with the other two. And it's a long-winded way to say that the sequel trilogy, it started and it finished, and I think most people are pretty glad to have that behind them. And I think we still have a lot of unfortunate drama and unfortunate toxic folks in this fandom. The Fandom Menace is a horrible, horrible, I mean, if you call it an organization, a group of people who are just really hateful, and it sucks. And I imagine that those people are also hateful in lots of other places in their lives as well. And I hate to see the creators, be so bashed the way they are. But I think in general, I think the state of the fandom is in a better place than it was a year ago. I think I can confidently say that. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Go ahead, Joel.
I think that to bring the sequels up, darkness rises and the light to meet it. And it's always been that way. Star Wars has always had good and bad. This is not a new thing, but I think, thank you. I think the
That's
further
a Star Wars quote right
we
there.
move along, the further we move along, the more entrenched and the more of a voice both of those sides get. And so it seems like there's more of a clash. It seems like there are more big things going on, but really this has always been going on. It's just that whispers in people's basements have now become shouts on social media. And what's important is not to say, is there more negativity going on? Is it harsher? It's to look at how we respond to it, because it's always going to be there, but we can only control how we respond to it.
Yeah, right. And I think that that's a great point. I want to the chat. You guys are already having some really great conversations, which I really love. I want to bring up something Jedi Murphy said. said valid criticism and completely dumping on something are different, aren't they? And I think absolutely, I think that's where a lot of this comes from, because Corey, I love the fact that you got to, rewatch Rise of Skywalker and have this kind of new experience, and I think a lot of people have as well. And at the same time, I think there are some people that, whether it's Rise of Skywalker or whether it's Last Jedi, whether it's Attack of the Clones, whatever it may be, whether it's Mandalorian, right? You may watch a Star Wars project and never click with it. And you know what? That is so okay. It might happen with a book.
Yeah.
It might happen with a movie. It might happen with a TV show. And I think what we've always strived to build here at Youtini, and why we made the fan code the way it is, and why I frankly think we're very proud of our community, of our Discord community of over 800 people at this point.
Yeah.
Is because you can always have disagreements on whether you like something or not, whether you felt that certain story beats made sense, but as long as it's all based in respect, I think you're allowed to go forward. Because come on, we all started as kids around the table who were saying, oh, I like Luke's blue lightsaber. I think it's a green lightsaber. I like it better. Like, it starts there. But as long as you have the respect with the person you're talking to, I think that builds the foundation. And that's kind of, I think, what we've really seen as the division on the internet nowadays. Like you said, Charles, the whispers in the basement are now being whispered into the keyboard that yell onto the internet. And we say at the end of every episode, or sorry, Sage says at the end of every episode, who recorded our outro, there is no division, there is unity.
Yeah.
And I think that phrase is especially important nowadays, because it's not so much like, oh, if someone is harassing authors or hosts, like of the High Republic show happened this week really effectively, of other Star Wars people, if they're harassing people, that doesn't mean that you have to be like, oh, well, this person's my friend and you're going to be harassing them and I'll still follow you because we're buddies. No, it just means that if you're being respectful to someone and they're being respectful to you, then you can always unite around Star Wars. You can always be like, this is my favorite movie. This is my favorite movie. And I think that's the key that I'm really proud that a lot of people around here really live their lives by. And when you see people that would rather live in that hate, in that dark, like you said, Charles, then that's kind of where it becomes a much harder world and a much harder fandom.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Wes, what were you going to say earlier about...
You were going to say something. I cut you off.
Oh, okay. So The Mandalorian has brought in a lot of more people, and probably some people that we have lost in the Star Wars community.
That's
over
a really
some
good
time.
point. It's a really good point.
So you're gonna have more of an audience, and there's gonna be a fraction that do not like certain things that they see either in The Mandalorian or something that they watched on Disney Plus because they bought Disney Plus just for The Mandalorian, and they started getting back into the sequels and they start voicing their opinion. So The Mandalorian itself has really made Star Wars as big as it could be right now in 2021. So the main point is that the more people that we get in here, there's a smaller fraction. There's going to be more people that are going to be negative towards it, and we need to navigate that correctly and not actually go after these people and make a big deal over what they're saying, because it's probably not valid to begin with.
Yeah, and I think that's also a really great point, because the if you look at just the numbers, right, the baseline numbers of the people who bought #1 New York Times bestseller Light of the Jedi, the people who bought the first issue of the High Republic that has sold out now 3 printings, the people that watched The Mandalorian, which watched the newest Pixar movie over the Christmas holiday, like the amount of people that are actually watching and consuming these things is so vast. It's so vast. And I know that the angry voices that are online that are doing horrendous things like throwing out racial things and sexist things at people, which is in disgusting ways, it feels like it's overwhelming, and there's so many of them. But compared to the people that are loving things and are really just having a great time and are talking to each other with love, it's so much smaller. And Corey, forgive this segue. Didn't we have a person we talked to very recently bring up this exact point?
Yeah. We had the we've been waiting to announce this on the show, because there's always the chance that these things don't happen, so we don't want to jump the gun a little bit. But we had the absolute pleasure of interviewing Cabin Scott again, who is one of our absolute favorite people, I think, in the fandom. One of our favorite creators. He's a really, really talented creator. He also has a really great voice. I mean, he was the winner of our Social Butterfly Award, for the Youtinis this year, and he made a big post about it on his blog and was really honored by that. And we had the pleasure of interviewing interviewing him over the weekend, and we weren't even talking about this whole like he had no idea that we were about to have a show about positivity and like the state of the fandom. This just totally came up naturally in the conversation, and he had some really awesome points that I think will transition us into the rest of this conversation really, really well. And rather than us trying to speak his words for him, I'd rather just let you guys hear a bit of the interview, and the rest will be released in a bonus audio only part. But we do have a bit of that interview here for you guys to listen to. So Wes, if you want to drop that really quick, we'll listen to it together.
Before we let you go, obviously you are our inaugural Youtini Social Butterfly Award winner.
I know.
I
was very honoured. I was very honoured.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Well, it was. Do you want me to? I prepared a speech. If I
yes, please. If you
no. I'd like to thank George Mann. Yeah, no. That was incredible. Thanks for that, guys. That was brilliant. I mean,
absolutely.
Social media, let's face it, is a thing, and it can be really hard. But it can also be really rewarding, and I try and make it as rewarding as possible. And it can be absolutely great. And I think the more we can be positive out there, because let's face it, there is a tiny little bit of negativity, and I think it's all of our duties to try and wash that out with the positivity about. And I think we get so wound up in the drama of all that stuff that goes on. That we forget that it's a tiny part of Star Wars fandom.
Yep.
Tiny part. Social media is a tiny part of Star Wars fandom, and most Star Wars fans will never even go onto Twitter and talk about Star Wars, but they're still Star Wars fans, and they're still buying the books, and they're still watching the films, and they're still getting the toys. And I think we can become so wrapped up in those moments where Twitter burns, that we think that takes over everything, and as I say, it's a small part of it. But I hope that my corner of it is as positive as possible. And I say I don't always get it right by any means, but so yeah, that the award meant a lot actually, because I do try, and I do try my best to talk to people whether they like me or not. And that doesn't always work, but my theory is everyone. We're all Star Wars fans, no matter where our background and what we love and what we don't love. And there's always elements of Star Wars that we don't love, for all of us. And I think as long as we can talk about that without calling each other names or trying to make a point or just going in for a fight, that's what we all do when we sit around with our friends in pubs and bars and clubs and cons and talking about Star Wars. There's that moment when you say, "Oh, I remember reading this comic," and the other person goes, "Well, that was rubbish." But that's what being a fan is. That you have those arguments, you have those. I will die on the Jackson Hill.
Right.
There are other people who will quite happily blow the hill up.
Yeah.
And that's what being a fan is about, I think. But what happens online, it becomes such the intensity of it takes over everything, and it's so difficult to see, the loves behind all of that fire as well. And so I just try my best to try and diffuse it as much as possible, and make everyone as welcome as I can. It's its own little thing.
I had it muted there. Looks like there was an issue there. Sorry, y'all. So I've listened to that. That clip from Kevin like 4 times since we did that little recording, and he nails it perfectly. And the way he talks about social media is you lose a little bit of the intention, I think, behind arguments when they happen online, right? And like it's like when you're sitting around, like the 4 of us can sit around on a podcast and debate about whether or not we are okay with Rey being a Palpatine, and it's an okay conversation because you can hear the nuance and you can hear the the disagreement, even though it's out of love and that sort of thing. And you lose that a lot online. So, I think this is a good transition to sort of talk about what's happening in our chat right now on Twitch. Is like, how do you handle criticism? Like, what is it? How are you supposed to do it? Right? Because we talk about positivity a lot on this show, and like, but it's not as simple as just saying, hey, you need to be positive, you need to only say good things. It's way more complex than that, right? And I don't think that's what we mean when we're saying to be positive. And Cheryl brought it up in the chat that she doesn't like to, what'd she say? She doesn't like to be told to shut up because positivity. And like, yes, that's absolutely true. Exactly. So maybe this is a good transition to kind of discuss like where does this toxicity come up most commonly, and kind of what kind of criticism is okay? Like, how are you supposed to have criticism and it's in an acceptable fashion?
I want to make a blanket statement because I love those. But and then kind of go off of it. I think at the end of the day, we're not even so much based in positivity as we're based in respect, because I think that as long as you are respectful towards people, then your discussion of fiction can expand. Because I think it's really, really easy to forget. And I blame the internet and I blame the kids for this. I do think it's easy to forget that real people make these stories, that real people edited these movies, that real people wrote these, that and even beyond creators, there's a real people. There is a real people, he said, behind every, behind most Twitter accounts, behind a message online, behind an idea. And I think that a lot of the people that are doing these things, like you mentioned the Fandom Menace and all that crap earlier, they have this joy of crushing these ideas and these people, and I think that we almost forget what it does to a person. That if you love something and have someone destroy who you are about it is the problem. If you can talk about, I don't like this plot point, I don't like this thing, it hurt me because I wanted this thing to happen and I didn't believe this plot point, that is something totally legit. But saying you are a bad person or you don't belong in Star Wars because of who or what you are, that's the line. Does that sound about right?
I think that's pretty accurate. Charles, you put this really nicely a couple times, and because I think of the four of us, you're the best listener maybe, and you're the best at sort of like stepping back and helping us point in the right direction. I don't. What are your thoughts on how do you be positive without being? How do you be negative without being a dick? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So to answer, I think that's kind of what we have to discuss here. You're right. And actually, I think that Ross brought it up really well in our chat. I like what he said here. Social media, which again is where so much of this negativity comes up, is oftentimes passion without accountability. That's what he said. And I think that's important because probably it was a big misstep to allow anonymity in social media, because it allows people to get away with saying things that you would never say face to face to someone in real life. But how do you be negative without being mean, rude, being the kind of person that we don't want in the fandom? You do so by remembering this. Guys, what's your favorite color? Everyone tell me what your favorite color is.
Blue.
Black.
Okay, well, mine is also blue. And thank you for saying something different, Wester. This would not have worked. So you're wrong. You're wrong because your answer wasn't blue.
Like, and black's not even a color. You didn't even answer the question correctly.
It's the absence of color, you idiot.
No, but the point is, I'm not going to yell at you for your opinion about your favorite color. No one does that. Like you're a psychopath if you do that. But we think it's okay when we do it with a more nuanced thing, like, oh, you wanted Raylo to happen or you didn't want Raylo to happen, so you're wrong. And just because it's more nuanced, it doesn't mean that this isn't still an opinion and you're allowed to like what you like and I'm allowed to like what I like, and we're allowed to disagree. That's the beautiful part. We're allowed to disagree. I'm just not going to sit here and tell you that you're wrong, you're an idiot, you need to stop posting about these things, stop using these hashtags, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just going to tell you, hey, this is how I felt about it. Tell me how you felt about it. Yeah. That's all it is. It's no pointing fingers. It's just like, it's speaking from a place of me, not pointing fingers at you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta, in terms of this, you just gotta kind of not think about how this other person affects you as much. Right. I just put yourself in that person's shoes is how kind of I look at all this. Because this person or this other person has learned differently through their experiences than you have. So they may have a different perspective on something, but if they're being an outlandish jerk about it, then there's a problem right there, and you don't need to pursue the discussion or argument, if you will.
Well, and I actually love that you brought that up, Wes, because I want to also talk about another part of this, which is when it goes wrong, right? Because the four of us are on social media to various extents, but we're pretty safe on social media based on who we are, right? We're four white dudes from the U.S., right? Very easy to kind of float in the anonymity of Star Wars.
Right, we might get some hate, but like still, it's we'll pretty mild. At most. Yes, yeah. Right.
So, and I think there's another part of this community that's like, okay, I am in Star Wars and I say I like Star Wars, and then because either I'm a Star Wars creative in a certain way, or I'm either a woman or a person of color or a queer person, and all of a sudden I'm getting death threats, right? Which happened this past week. There's Christine Ariel, the host of the High Republic show. Bria, a Star Wars writer today, also got it. These women were getting death threats from Star Wars communities, right? So when it goes beyond the point of being able to ignore it, how do we keep ourselves safe and make sure that we can still form a community that is excited about fiction while the reality is kind of being a little uglier? Yeah.
I think we have probably talked about this issue as a company like more than maybe any other issue ever at Youtini. Is we frequently have the conversation internally that involve everybody. It's not just like me and Eric making the decisions or the four of us making the decisions. Like we have openly had conversations with all kinds of people from all over the world and all walks of life, all kinds of stuff, right? About like, how do you respond when this horrible stuff is happening online, right? When these creators are getting these really racist, DMs, and they're calling her the N-word and all this crazy stuff. Like, how do you properly respond to that? Because like it is such a balance, because giving those people the attention is also hugely detrimental, but not showing support can also be hugely detrimental. It's such a tricky balance. Yeah. There's no right answer to this, guys. Like there's no right answer to like you have to balance your own mental health and what you can deal with before it just drives you nuts every single day. And I think you have to speak out against it when the time is right, but also we have to balance like not giving those people the attention. And it's really, really challenging, both from a company and an individual perspective.
Yeah, I think Cheryl put it really nicely in our chat here just then about saying, how do you respond? You speak out against hate and ignorance, and you do. And I think that's one thing I've always been pretty proud of us as a company as a whole. Like I don't think there's any question as far as our loyalty is a weird word, but as far as like when it comes to hate and it comes to harassment, Youtini and Living Force from day one have always been very clear about our stance, and we don't intend to change that. But I also agree that giving oxygen to hate is exactly what makes that fire into an inferno, right? And it's that balance of making sure that the people being attacked feel supported, and also making sure that those people full of hate know that they are not then controlling the world we love. That there are way more people of all backgrounds, of all parts of Star Wars, that are seeing characters that look like them. That are seeing characters that are exciting and are having new stories that are bringing light into this world. And that's so much more powerful than them. And I think that's honestly also part of why it's gotten louder lately, is that those communities realize, oh, Star Wars isn't dead. Oh no, they haven't stopped putting people of color and queer people in Star Wars. That didn't end because I was angry, and they're freaking out. They're feeling their power slip away. Yeah, right. And I think that is, I mean, it's scary. It is online to see some of the stuff they're doing and some of the threats and some of the words, but it's also heartening to see the community really like say that's not how we're viewed. That's not who we are anymore. And that's been a really nice thing to see.
Yeah, totally. Now, sorry, go ahead, Charles.
I was just going to say, I think it's interesting to try, and I know it's incredibly difficult with a lot of the things that have been said, because the discourse can just get so toxic, but to try to put yourself in the shoes of the other person, try to think, where are they coming from this? Like, where is this hatred coming from? And of course, it's going to be case by case, but I think it does come from how important Star Wars is to all of us. It's incredible how much it means to every fan. I think no matter whether you just watch the movies, you read the books, etc. And I think when people have something that has meant so much to them, like Star Wars, when they see that it maybe isn't what they remember it, like the nostalgia from their childhood, they feel like attacked, and they feel like their good memories or their good feelings about it have become invalidated. And it's the exact wrong way to look at it. You have to look at it as, oh, now more people get to have this feeling.
Yeah, how
now
beautiful.
More people get to look back and be a part of this experience. And I don't know why people choose one way versus the other, but there's very clearly one healthier way to do that.
Yeah, and I think that if you are someone listening to this show and you felt that way, if you felt that, you like the new Star Wars stuff, but maybe it's just not hitting you the same way. And maybe there's characters you can't quite identify with as much, and it's harder, which it totally is for some people. I think, like Wes and Charles, like you guys were saying about putting yourself in someone else's shoes, right? I really encourage you to go, if you're not on Twitter, go online for a second and see some of these younger fans, whether younger fans of color or younger queer fans, or especially like younger women that have been seeing characters like Rey and Finn these past couple of years. Go in their shoes for a second and realize that that fire is brighter than it's been. It was just as bright as it was for us when we were 7 watching Luke Skywalker, the blonde-haired white guy getting to be a hero. That's still happening. And then I honestly think that joy of these other communities and these other people can easily transfer through empathy.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. I mean, like seeing all the kids like dressed up as like Rey and Finn and all this stuff at Celebration is so awesome. Like it just warms my heart, because like and you wouldn't go up to that person and be like, well, Rey was super overpowerful. Like kid, your costume's dumb. Like you wouldn't do that, because that's so messed up, right? Maybe some people would, but still. Yeah,
until Dad finds out, and then that person is no longer on this earth.
And his name is John Cena.
Now, something else I wanted to bring up. I'm not sure I will be able to put it as eloquently as you guys will. Is there is the sort of opposite. The opposite side of the coin that is, I think, equally detrimental in a lot of ways, is when you have. I think using Rise of Skywalker is a good example, because the hate of that film has been really dragged out, like really dragged out. Like we're over a year out now from the Rise of Skywalker, and like people are still regularly crapping on it all the freaking time, to the point that like it has totally ruined that film for so many people. Like, and I think we need to have a conversation about like, when do jokes and memes cross the line, right? Because because I think another good example would be my quote unquote hate of Jedi, right? Because let's be real, that's a bit on this show, and is not like, it's not like my actual opinion about the creator. Like, yes, I joke that I hate Corran Horn and all this stuff, and he's not my favorite character and all this stuff, but like, I don't hate the book Jedi. I don't hate like the creator. I don't hate Corran Horn, and I don't think that anybody that loves that book, because there is a it's got a cult following. There are people that love Jedi, and like
definitely.
I don't think those people are wrong. I like, if that's what you like, that's what you like. That's totally fine. That's a bit for this show. Like, I think we really need to clarify that, because like people have started to insinuate that I actually I hate the book and stuff, and that's not really cool. So I think that's a good point that we should ask, is like, where do you draw the line with jokes and memes and stuff? Like, I mean, because it does reach a point in which that like you're just taking away the joy from other people who do enjoy the creative works.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice line to say, and I want to, Charles and Wes, I want to hear especially your guys' points. I just want to highlight. I mean, our chat is having a really beautiful conversation, and I want to just kind of hit that again. I've got a lot of people talking about the support of like the things that they had with their friends with Rey, about seeing about Latin American people seeing Diego Luna. And Cheryl had a great point about this line, right? Which says when it goes from stories and characters, and then the line is then about misogyny and racism, then that's not a joke, right? Then it's like, then it becomes about, oh, this is about the people. This is about even the characters, either sexuality or gender or race. Then that's not funny. It becomes hiding hate behind comedy. And I think that's an interesting point. But I think that's a very clear extreme, at least for us. And I think
it
for
is.
most other people.
And I don't think it, it almost goes without saying that, like, when it comes to racism and sexism and such blatant, obvious displays of bigotry and hate and evil, quite frankly, like,
yes.
It almost, we haven't said it on this show, but it quite frankly goes without saying, honestly. Like of course, that stuff is like a hard line in the sand, no stance for that crap whatsoever, right? And like when we have like Justina Ireland facing all the criticism she was last week, and people calling her the N-word via DM, she posted all that stuff. This stuff is
which goes beyond criticism.
Yes, that is not what we're talking. That is disgusting, horrible,
different conversation.
Nazi-like people that we're not even talking about. That we're talking about the milder form, right? We're talking about like what people in our community, who I think is very respectful in general. I think we're talking about, how do we decide where to draw the line? How do four of us as hosts decide where to draw the line when it comes to criticism of stuff? Because there's a right and a wrong way to do it. But anyway, I'm getting off topic because that was a huge thing. What do we think? Where do we draw the line with jokes and memes? Charles, Wes, thoughts?
Oh my gosh. Go ahead, Wes. This one's tough.
Yeah, it's very tough because some people find, just like people's views, some people find humor differently than others. If something crosses the line and jokes and memes and it's within the community, I think a simple response is not funny, man. Just 3-4 words, not funny, man. Maybe the point will get across, but if it keeps happening, then there needs to be some kind of interaction. But then you can't fuel that type of behavior. From somebody. It's very thin line to cross whether they're trying to be hateful or they're just trying to be funny. I think a lot of people are trying to be funny, and then it offends other people just because they don't see humor, or they don't see they're not seeing the hurtful part of the humor that they're putting out for everybody, and somebody should tell them about that.
I think that goes back to respect, like you're saying, Wes. Like if you're the joke teller and someone says that to you, then I think it's having that willingness to listen and to evolve. Like, oh, not my intention, didn't know, but also not then making that person feel bad for being vulnerable enough to say, hey, that thing hurt me. That thing is now hampering my joy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think it's just a willingness to listen at the end of the day. What are you gonna say, Charles?
I was just going to say, I feel like maybe this is something that we should have brought up a little bit earlier as well. We're all sitting here trying to have this conversation of how to go about this, right? We don't want this to come off as preachy at all. No. And quite frankly, we've had a lot of internal discussions saying like, hey, did we handle that thing right? And there have been times when we haven't. There have been plenty of times when we have crossed the line here or there for whatever reason it is. So I guess I just want to make that point and say that we're all going to fall short of this ideal and this goal that we're putting out there, but in striving for it, we're going to make the fandom a better place, I think, for everybody. So it's not, if you've done these things recently or whatever, we're not, I don't know, what's the on-air equivalent of subtweeting you? It's not that kind of stuff. We're just saying, let's all try to be better,
Right. We're trying to have a discussion about like what it actually means to be positive, and what are we talking about when we telling people to be positive, right? Because
I think at the end of the day, hilariously, the four of us, as you say, Charles, we're all talking about this all the time, and I think in our own lives, I think we are using our Star Wars podcast to have a conversation about how do we be good people.
Yeah, how do you be more empathetic and how do you care for others? I think but you can't tell people to be more empathetic. You have to say be more positive, because empathy is a complex emotion, and like it's not something you can just say to me. But that's what we're saying you should do, is try to be more empathetic. That's what we should do. Like, I've gone back and listened to our Rise of Skywalker conversation a couple times, and I'm like, man, I shouldn't have said that thing the way that I said it. Like, and it's such a hard line to draw. But I do say, like, we're well past the line when it comes to the Rise of Skywalker now, right? Like, Stop retweeting how much it sucked, all right? Because it's time to let that go now. Let's move on. Like you're really just making yourself more unhappy and hurting others around you when you do that. Like just let it go. Let it go. It's canon, all right? Like think about it as canon.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good quote though to pull from there is like at the end of the day, what we strive for, and I think that's a great way to say, Charles, we strive for it. We don't always hit it. We won't always hit it. There's no possible way to hit as a human, right? All the time. I think we always strive to try to hold things accountable when they need to. When they cross the line, we hold things accountable that are hatred, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the nuance, what joy and happiness can I put in the world? Because I want to be happy and I want other people to be happy. And if I do something that is hindering someone else's happiness, how can I listen and learn in order to not do that in the future? And I think I see that happen in our Discord, honestly, all the time.
Yeah.
I see people bring up opinions and someone either say, no, I disagree, or better yet, not what I got. Why did you like it so much? And then that's the conversation to have of like, even if you never meet someone else's joy, even if you never meet someone else in the same plane, if you're having a human-to-human interaction and you base it in empathy and respect, you're always going to come out feeling better than you went in. And I think that's the goal of not only Star Wars fans, but of everyone having a conversation.
Yeah, about anything. People. This is we're talking about.
This is now a podcast about the world.
Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah.
man it was really telling talking to Kevin to circle it all the way back around. It was really telling to talk to Kevin about like seeing how it affects the creators because like man, it was clear hearing him say the stuff that he said about social media that like he was really trying to be respectful about it and it's like, but it's clear that it has really affected him and it's clear that it's really affected all the creators. And I can't imagine what it's like to receive that type of backlash literally all the time, every single time you log into Twitter to, you know, to send out some positive message that your DMs are just flooded with this horrible stuff. I can't imagine what that's like. And that's horrible. So, you know, it's all a spectrum. Just because you're not being super toxic and horrible and racist online doesn't mean that maybe you could be better. And that's all we're saying is maybe we could all be better, us included. Yeah.
And I think and I want to hear you guys' thoughts as we're wrapping up our hour conversation here about 2021. I do want to kind of acknowledge a couple things that are coming up, right? Where this is going to be hard. This is going to be a hard time coming up because of some of the people we talked about earlier. This week, I'm very excited because the High Republic show is debuting on YouTube. It is being hosted by Christina Ariel, who had to get verified last week because of racist hate speech and sexism. So that will rear its head again. And I think acknowledging everything we've said, there's no question that we don't stand with any of that. And I think anyone, if you witness it, again, report on Twitter. You can report tweets, get those people silenced, take away the platform, focus on the great work. Same thing with Justina Ireland has Out of the Shadows coming out this summer, which is not only going to be a really sweet YA book, it's going to have multiple women of color in it. They're going to be main characters. So these same people are going to be talking about things like tokenism and all this crap. Same thing.
Yeah.
You be protective of yourselves, be protective of those that may need it a little more. Use those report functions when you see it, block, mute, take away their voice, and rain down the praise on Christina and Justina as they deserve for their work. And on
Absolutely.
that, I want to take that and ask you guys, as we go into 2021, we're already here. As we go into the next 11 months of 2021,
yes,
we think about the Youtini fan code, about putting in joy, and we talk about bringing in this unity and greatness. What are some things that, other than reporting and blocking the hate, because we can do that, that is less active, I think. What is a thing that excites us that we can do this year to really bring the joy of this new creation, of this whole new universe that we're going to talk about starting next week for 3 weeks? How can we bring that energy more into the year than we did in 2020?
That's a good question. Well, I think just looking forward to all the incredible flipping content that's coming down the pipeline is an easy way, because like I have no sense of dread whatsoever to what's coming out, like at all. Like it's like I had a solemn feeling going into The Rise of Skywalker. Like, do you guys remember that long post that I put in Discord about like, hey, the movie's coming out tomorrow, like let's try to keep it all clean and all this stuff? Like Like, I don't feel like that at all about the future. Like, I have
we're in a
nothing
race
but
car, baby.
yes, holy crap! All the books that are coming down the pipeline look incredible. All the High Republic stuff is nuts. All the films and TV shows, it all sounds awesome. I'm so excited, and I think that's what you got to focus on. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
There it is.
Although
You know what I
a
think
villain
would be
did say that, so you know.
You know what I think would be a great idea? I'm just spitballing here. Is to get just to get all of us or to get the team, one person, and show their reaction to something new that they've seen. Like when the new projects come out.
Oh yeah.
Just like have a short 30-second video of what they just seen. They're like, oh my God, can you believe what I just saw? Like the new show of this, and then the Mandalorian season 3 is out now, and look at that Boba Fett show and all this. But something that gets everybody excited, just that they're like, oh yeah, I remember that. I can get excited about stuff like that too. That's fun.
Yeah, totally.
It's a lot of fun. Charles, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't have a specific, but I kind of want to go back.
Charles,
to
I gave you
something-
one question.
I know. And per usual, I give the questions. I'm the roundtable guy.
Next week, man.
No, but I want to get back to something I said in one of our very first shows. When you're in the fandom, just strive to make it feel like anyone coming into it is going to say, Chewie, we're home. That's the feeling that you want. You want to feel like whether you're on Twitter, whether you're in our chat during one of our live shows, or whether you're actually sitting with a group of friends, you want to get back to that feeling that Kevin was referencing in that clip earlier, that you are sitting at the bar or, at a con with some of your closest friends, and you're just chatting about the thing that you love. That's why we all watch Star Wars. That's why we all consider ourselves part of this fandom. And we can do better moving forward, and we can all feel like we're home.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I love that. And I'm gonna end mine with a trick. A little piece of advice that I'm gonna see if we can do this year.
Some cards.
It is a little bit of magic. It's gonna be tricking the algorithm.
You
What
wizard.
I mean by that is every single social media platform, whether it be YouTube, Twitter, anywhere you can find Youtini, frankly, _US at Living First Pod, anywhere you can find anything is built to keep you on that site. That is there are people making millions of dollars a year, billions of ad revenue to keep you on a platform for the longest they can. And 2020 was a really hard year. And I think a lot of these platforms did all they could to throw as much rage and awful stuff at us as they could. And they succeeded. I mean, it was a really hard year, and I don't want to take away from, honestly, my own pain, anyone else's pain of 2020. It was very hard, and we're all here, right? But I think in 2021, there's a possibility of us looking at the Silicon Valley folk and being like, all right, I'm going to take your algorithm you have made to put as much stuff that makes me sad and angry in front of me, and I'm going to deplatform all that stuff, and I'm going to make my timeline into something that makes me stoked. I'm muting those people that get angry at me. I'm blocking those people that are harassing. I'm not clicking on those YouTube videos that get linked. I am going to interact with people that bring me joy. I'm going to interact with those communities maybe I haven't talked to before that are bringing different points of love than I've known before. And I'm going to flip my online algorithm to bring me things that make me excited and that make Star Wars the place of love that it should be. So let's see if we can be smarter than all the heads of these tech companies that are trying to keep us on their sites with anger, because we're just going to yell about Light of the Jedi for 12 months straight. So that's my goal for this year. And it's going to start. He did a segue. It's going to start next week when we start our 3-week roundtable love fest about Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. I'm so excited. Charles, could you do me a favor and remind the good people how long your outline is for the next 3 weeks?
Yes, that would be 13 pages.
Wait, but that's double spaced, right?
No, that is single space.
Oh my God.
It is bullet points. We're going to see this is the first time we've ever done a 3-parter. I think it's probably not the first time we could have done one, but this one was just really special. Whole new era, all new characters, all new plot, all new villains, all new everything. We got to do 3 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're excited to see you again. 3 weeks of that, and then our 100th celebration episode. I want to take a moment before we get out of here to thank everyone that's been in this chat this whole time, that has had honestly the epitome of this conversation within the chat that has had points that are varied, that has had points that are still respectful, and that have talked with a level of decency and understanding that I hope we can all bring into this year. I'm glad we had this talk. I'm glad we had this chat, and this chat will continue for years. It absolutely will. But I couldn't be more stoked to springboard off of this next week into a book that has basically defined the excitement of Star Wars for the next year. Guys, before we get out, any final thoughts about either any of these things, about the next week, the next year, about our 100th episode? Anything in your head you want to tell the fine folks?
I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy to be a Star Wars fan. No. Like, if I had $1 for all the times someone that I've just met has said, "What do you think about The Last Jedi?" Or "What do you think about The Rise of Skywalker?" Or "What do you think about the
Subway?" Like
Phantom Menace. Ago. I know, it's the worst, man. It's like there's not the right answer to that question. By the way, guys, is like there's always something to like about Star Wars, right? Like in that, right. I think that choice that you make is like, yeah, I liked it, but I didn't like these things. That's not the right answer. The right answer is I liked this thing, and like let's focus on that, and let's try to find the thing that we like the most about the Star Wars film that we hate the most, right? And
yeah,
it's hard. It's hard being a Star Wars fan.
I haven't seen it. I don't know. Yeah, haven't seen him.
Haven't seen it. I don't know. Yeah,
you're like covering up your shirt because you're obviously wearing a Millennium Falcon shirt.
Right.
I don't know. I got drunk and got a tattoo. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Oh man, it's hard, guys. I'm glad that we have a community we can share this with. Like, seek to bring new people into the community. Like, it's fun, man. I'm glad that we're here doing this thing, but it's hard. There are lots of days where we wake up and see this awful crap that's hitting online, and like, what do we say? How do we be supportive? Like, it's hard. It's hard, guys. It's not supposed to be easy. When you're passionate about something this much, it can't be easy. All right, so you know, try to be the best person you can be, and I think that's all we can all strive for, right?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, God, another chat turning around saying, sharing their favorite parts of iJedi now in our chat. I'll tell you what, if you ever have a bad day, pick a Discord channel, jump in, say, hey, I love blank. Who else does? Wait 5 minutes. You're going to have a love fest. Get that boost of serotonin because there are 800 people loving the same thing you love.
And I can freely answer that too. What's my favorite part of iJedi?
Yeah,
all of the X-Wing stuff that's in iJedi is phenomenal. Like, it's very, very good. It's of the same...
Stackpole, man.
Yeah, Stackpole is a good writer when it comes to all the fighter pilot stuff. It's just as good as all of the X-Wing books fighting stuff is. It's fantastic. Like, all the stuff involving fighter pilots is phenomenal from Stackpole. You know, he's just a little cringy. That's all. That's all it is. Like... You know, Corran Horn is a little bit full of himself. That's the only problem, right?
Yeah. Hey, come on. Who doesn't love and who doesn't love Babu Frick? Right? Especially Emma, who I don't know if she bought that on our team, who bought maybe that 10-inch Pop Funko? I don't know. We'll find out. Corey West, any final thought? Or Charles West, Corey, never mind. I love you. It's not your turn. Charles West, any last thoughts for the good people?
I'm just excited that there's more people getting into Star Wars.
Yeah,
like my group of friends does not watch Star Wars, has made fun of me about watching Star Wars, being part of a Star Wars community. And then come 6 months later, they're talking to me about Clone Wars. They're talking to me about Rebels. They say, hey, man, I binged all of Clone Wars the other day. I binged all of Rebels. And his wife is like, yeah, he was in his room for 24 hours straight watching cartoons. I was like, it is not just cartoons.
I'm sorry, you mean animation?
Yeah. It's so validating, isn't it, Wes? It's so validating.
It really is. And The Mandalorian's has just made it exponentially better. So that's what I'm super excited about.
Oh my gosh.
People getting involved.
I know. Meg on the team being like, my dad just messaged me and said, I just watched all the Mandalorian. It's fantastic. Or that was you too.
Yeah.
That was me. Yeah.
That was you.
I'll share that with the general public. My dad, my whole life hasn't liked Star Wars, and it hasn't been a huge thing, but he just never did. And then this week, because my mom and I watched all the movies together, we watched all the new ones. She said, hey, let's try it. And he texted me and he said, finish Mandalorian season 2. Man, Luke, that boy can whip some ass. And I'm like, what? I got very emotional. I posted in our Slack because my dad now love the thing, and Mandalorian is what got him in. Didn't like a single movie, not a single book, not a single TV show. And then my mom is like, should he watch Clone Wars? And I'm like, yeah. I'm gonna temper my expectations. But it is, there are new people loving it every day. You're so right, Wes. Charles, what's just making you, what's lighting your fire? That's a personal question. I'm sorry.
Come on, baby.
It's Obi-Wan, I know.
I'm going to sidestep that question. And I'm just going to say thank you to everyone who was in the chat tonight, everyone who's listening to this later, the podcast, for listening to this conversation, and not just listening to this conversation, but being a part of the conversation and figuring out, how we're going to do all this together. There are more of us. We are all the Republic, all those good things. And I'm really looking forward to what comes ahead.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful way to end. The last few big lines of Star Wars have been, there are more of us and we are all the Republic. Star Wars going forward is about a unified community. And if you don't support every kind of person in that community, then you're missing the point, guys. Everyone is part of Star Wars. We are all the Republic. We will talk about that next week on our Light of the Jedi Roundtable, but that will do it for this week's episode of The Living Force. If you already support us on Patreon, head over to our Discord, join the Aftermath After Show channel. We will hang out for a little bit with you. A special thank you goes out to Cheryl Bell, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, and Kyle Hickman, Elizabeth Cloutier, Freddie C., and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command for your amazing support of Youtini and all the things we do. You can find us on Twitter at Eric Eilerson, at Doc Star Wars MD, at C. Henkel, and at Boss Wes. A special thank you to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor, Ryan, our graphic designer extraordinaire, and Wes, you producer and community manager. Thanks to Corey, Charles, and Wes for podcasting with me. Thanks to all of you in the chat for this incredible discussion. And as always, may the Force be with you.